Welcome into HouseOfSparky.com. I'm Zach Pacleb, and with me, staff writer Kaelen Jones. Now, we just finished up a bunch of interviews here at Media Day. We're about 2 weeks into fall camp, 2 weeks away from that first game against Northern Arizona. So we're just going to run through some quick storylines, who we think stood out, some certain topics that have stood out. So first of all, first impressions, the biggest impression you've gotten from the first 2 weeks camp?
Well, there's a different sense of synergy. Coach Graham has been talking about that from the spring all the way to this point in the fall camps. There's a different sense of energy. We've got a couple new coaches on the offensive end. We're talking about Chip Lindsey and Jay Norvell. Their impact will seem to rub off on at least every coach and every player within the the program, not the NFL. But I think you're going to see a bit more of a revival, considering you came off kind of disappointing season.
It was a disappointing season when you talk about a lot of championship expectations and then you fall so short of those. It's a self-inflicted, disappointing season. What stood out to me is really the confidence level from Dwyer Rich and Kaelen Blodge. They're not worried at all. 4 new offensive linemen, they don't care.
Exactly.
New quarterback, they don't care. They're saying they still have to come to Tempe and play us. And the relationship with Coach Lindsey really seems like they've embraced it, and they've embraced that leadership process.
Yeah, and I think you can see it on the defensive end too. Obviously, you're getting T.J. Russ in the secondary, coming off an NCAA worst, whatever it was last year, giving up over 350 yards a game.
So many explosive plays too.
Exactly, too many. And I think you're going to see that Kareem Orr moving back to the down. You're going to see Jamarcus Rhodes kind of rotating at that free safety position, as well as Armand Perry coming back off injury. I think the secondary is going to be much improved, and if the front seven can generate some better pass rush this year, I think ASU defense is going to be something to really, be excited about as it's been in the past.
Yeah, it's kind of been muted just a little bit with all the quarterback situation and this, that, or whatever. There's been small changes on the defense. We've seen JoJo Wicker lining up at double back. We've seen Evan Boateng at that 5-tech. We've seen Lai Mokiola moving to the secondary. We'll see if that keeps him, a little bit more healthy because he's such a smart player. And all these small things create a big effect on the defense. Now we're going to move on, be a little bit more specific. Who's the player that's kind of stood out the most to you?
It's actually Ami Latu. I think he's primed for a kind of a breakout year. I know it's not, you're not talking about, you're usually talking about JoJo Wicker, it's Sean Smallwood when you're talking about ASU's defensive line over the past couple of seasons. But from that nose tackle position, I think throughout practice, and maybe it's because it's a new offensive line, Ami Latu has had a great impact, whether it's getting after the passer or dropping back into coverage. He had a pick 6 the other day.
Love the pick 6 from
Exactly. So I think that he's going to have a phenomenal impact as far as what he does in generating opportunities for the linebacker core, and then that will parlay into opportunities for the secondary.
For me, it's been Tim White. I know that's an easy answer, but he looks so darn explosive. We thought he was going to be the best athlete on the team already, but he's gotten better. The amount of vertical threat and with Chip Lindsey's offense, a lot of the pistol looks and the quick passes, getting the ball into his hands quickly, and then the fact that he return picks and punts. I'm just really excited for Tim White.
Exactly. He's a major playmaker, and I think that, like you said, he brings that athleticism, that triple jump, Olympian almost athleticism. And I think that he's going to be ASU's biggest playmaker outside of the running backs, which obviously you have Demario Rich and Kaelen Blodge.
ASU isn't short of any weapons on offense, that's for sure. We just don't know who's going to distribute that. Now, to talk about the quarterbacks, we're going to not talk about the quarterbacks. What's the biggest question you think has to be answered outside of who's going to be QB1?
I think it's going to be who can generate, the most, or at least generate the best pass rush within that front seven. You just talked about JoJo Wicker's kind of filling in at that double backer role. Personally, I don't think he has enough bend or necessarily explosion, but he's looked phenomenal in practice. Again, I'll take it with a grain of salt because, again, it's with a newer offensive line. But if ASU can generate, consistent pass rush, you look at the past couple of seasons, Will Sutton, Carl Bradford, players like that who are able to, really wreak havoc within the front four and really alleviate that kind of pressure on the defensive backfield to kind of perform to a higher level. If the front seven can generate a consistent pass rush, and then they were really good against the run last year, which is kind of goes under the radar because they were so bad against the pass. But if they can generate a consistent pass rush, I think the secondary and the defensive in general is going to be much improved.
See, I'm looking at that line again. Same with the defense, the linebacker core and the secondary. Because linebackers, they're so talented. All DJ Calhoun, Christian State, Islam Alfiso. You have so many monstrous guys that where do you line them up? And how do you get them all on the field at the same time to get them the greatest impact? And then behind them, the safety. That's what I want to know. I want to see how Armand Perry looks. He got his season cut short. He was looking good. He led the team in tackles in that Texas A&M game, and then also Jamarcus Rhodes. He's been at safety because Lai Mokiola's already had to have some rest in camp. always have to question his longevity. So those two safety spots, especially with Todd Graham's defense and the amount of pressure they want to play in, and the amount of times you get put on an island in those positions, I really wonder how much reliability there's going to be in that.
Yeah, and Coach actually talked about it back at Media Day and then this week as well. You're seeing a lot more. You're going to see a lot more zone pressures, which means more opportunities for your front seven to be coming from different angles and different positions within, or at least against both the run and the pass. I think it's going to create more opportunities for the secondary to be, make plays on the ball.
And of course, this team is short of nothing but storylines. There's going to be a lot more things that we're going to get into as the camp rolls around, as the season comes up, college football right around the corner.
Can't wait.
So excited.
Can't wait.
So excited for it. Again, make sure you keep tuned in to HowToSparky.com for everything written and some video stuff too. Kaelen Jones, I'm Zach Pacleb. Thanks for watching.